Is comprehensive coverage of the 2024 Edo State Governorship election. I am Nifemi Oguntoye, and we're bringing you live updates, expert analyses, and on-the-ground reports from our team of correspondents strategically positioned across the state's 18 local government areas. The stage is now set for what is expected to be a keenly contested election, with about 17 candidates vying for the top spot. Over 2.2 million registered voters equipped with their PVCs will determine the fate of these candidates in the 192 wards spread across 3 senatorial districts. Let's break down the demographics for you. 52.11% of voters we understand are male, while 47.89% are female. Notably, 37.4% of voters are young people between the age of 18 and 35. And middle-aged individuals between 36 and 49 years account for 35%. Students and persons with disabilities make up significant portions of the electorate, with 868,706 and 4,199 individuals, respectively. Well, as we count down to Saturday's poll, it's worth noting that there's been a 15% increment in registered voters since the last governorship election in 2020, bringing the total now to 2.6 million. However, only 85% of these voters, or let's say 2.2 million individuals, have collected their PVCs and are eligible to vote. Attention will focus on Edo South, where 55.7% of these eligible voters reside. Edo North and Central follow with 27.9% and 16.3% of PVC collectors, respectively. Well, let's dive into the crucial battleground as we take a look at the local government areas that indeed will shape the outcome of the election tomorrow. We're focusing on 12 key local government areas where parties are fiercely contesting to secure the numbers. Ikpobahowa comes first with over 400,000 registered voters. That's about 15% of all of the registered voters in Edo State. Over 312,000 of them have their voter cards. So voter turnout here will be pivotal. That's if we have the numbers. Recall that in the last election, less than 30% of people actually turn up for the vote. In Oredo, there are 357,371 registered voters. It's also a significant chunk of Edo South electorate. By the way, Edo South, you know by now, has the largest number of voters in this election. That local government is followed by Eagle, a key local government area in Edo South as well. And then you have Isako West with over 186,000 registered voters. You find that in the Edo North Senatorial District. Ovia Northeast is considered a battleground local government area, another vital area in Edo South. Other key local government areas are Akoko Edo, Orionwo with over 140,000 registered voters, Ovia Southwest with 113,000 voters, and Asan West, Owan East, Isako East, as well as Asan Northeast. Very interesting development. These local government areas, we understand, will be the epicenter of tomorrow's election, with parties battling to win over voters. Let's talk to some of our correspondents who are on the ground, bringing you live updates and analyses. Good place to start will be Irua, where Theophilus Elema is standing by. We understand, Theophilus, that INEC began distributing sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the 10 wards in Irua. Walk us through that process and how stakeholders are reacting to it.
All right, Nifemi, it's quite an interesting journey today. Of course, we got there and realized that the sensitive and non-sensitive materials had already gotten to INEC office and in Irua here, and we saw a lot of INEC ad hoc staff who were ready to move this to the different areas, the 10 different wards that make up Irua local area. So as we saw officials of the security agencies coming in to maintain the peace and ensure that no one does anything that will harm the credibility of the elections. Though I spoke with the electoral officer who declined to speak on camera, but he also mentioned that everything is being put in place to ensure that the materials go out of INEC office to the different polling units, to different wards rather, and from the wards by tomorrow morning to get to the different polling units within area axis. So this calls for seamless transfer of these goods because they are in a hurry to ensure that this process goes on well and goes on smoothly. Of course, we also saw some of the officials even fueling the generators that will move to the different polling units within area axis. So that's how serious they have been with the situation. Every of the generators we saw had full tanks there so that there will be no complaints. All the supervisory polling officers that were there were checking carefully their materials to ensure that what they have gotten is what is needed there, and we hope that there will not be any trouble or any mistake when we get to the polls tomorrow.
Theophilus, how accessible are these polling units in Irua? What is INEC saying about transportation and other logistics?
Well, transportation is quite seamless, of course. While the ad hoc staff were around and the SPOs were around, we saw a lot of the vehicles, and those vehicles went into the different wards, the different local government, the different areas within Irua. Now, the only ward that is quite far from the main town of Irua is Ward 2, and that's where the governorship candidate of the APC is going to be voting. You have to, the road leading there, we hear, is quite bad, so you have to go through Uromi, then come back, and you meet the polling, the Ward 2, of course. So that's the only one that's quite far, and of course they left quite early. But other ones within have been moving to their different areas to ensure that everything goes on fine. So what we say is seamless transfer. Transportation has been on. We saw earlier today we had a live broadcast talking about the police force, the security men working together. And before we knew it, after the live broadcast we had at about an hour after, more detachment of police officers, soldiers, and everyone were around. Even the road safety officials were around. The officials of National Security and Civil Defense Corps were all around. That's to show you how the synergy between all the security outfits in the nation, and how seamlessly they are working together to ensure that this goes on fine.
Fellows, we're counting on that, and we're looking forward to how much impact that we have on a seamless exercise tomorrow. Theophilus Elama live for us in Irua, Edo State. Let's turn now to Ewohimi. Ewohimi is in Asan Southeast. That's in Edo Central Senatorial District, where Ikena Amechi is standing by. Ikena, did you also witness the distribution of sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the wards in your areas, in the local government where you are? What has happened thus far? Ikena, what's the update with the distribution of election materials in Ewohimi?
All right, Nifemi, the update here at the moment, I am at Ihohime, or in Asan, southeast of Edo Central Senatorial District, and of course it's one of the places we have a candidate that is coming from here, and the whole place, since it's a rural area, people are arriving the town in their drove, and as I speak to you now, Nifemi, buses are just arriving with a number of people, supporters of different political parties. Perhaps they are voters, and they are coming to, if I will assume, exercise their franchise tomorrow, which is the election day. So here it has been a very busy day going around some of the local government that make up this senatorial district. There are 5 local governments that make up this senatorial district, and anywhere I reach, anywhere we got to, it has been people outpour of wanting, willingness to come out tomorrow to cast their votes, and from the expectation and from those who have collected their PVCs from this local government, we are expecting that they will come out in their numbers to exercise their franchise for the candidate of their choice. And of course, it's a very good battleground for some of the leading candidates in this contentious election in Edo State. And we are keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that all will go well. We have actually, recovered from yesterday's shock, whereby our crew was attacked by some political supporter, political party supporter, and we are geared up, ready to go for tomorrow election. And it seems the people are as well, because they are returning from their places of, from their different local governments.
Glad to hear that you have recovered from that attack, Ikena. But 35,000 police personnel were dispatched for this exercise. Can you see any of them where you are?
Well, at this particular point that I am, is like a popular junction here. I can't cite any police officer, but as we were coming, we saw police officers at strategic position, and of course at the INEC, where we have those that are assigned to deploy in Uromi, we saw a lot of police officers waiting for the deployments to join the INEC ad hoc staff and INEC staff to the place of to the wards and units for the elections tomorrow. But I can say that so far it has been peaceful. There has not been any incident that will warrant to have insecurity or to have safety of anyone or anybody compromised. But we are still watching, and we are still looking, be cautious of the fact that this election is very a contentious one. From what happened to us yesterday, we are actually experienced enough to know that we should expect anything, and we are watchful. Nifemi.
Well, counting on that and looking forward to a peaceful Paul Ikenamechi live for us in Ewohimi. We have other correspondents across strategic areas in Edo State covering this exercise for us. I'll be talking to Sarah Yeko, who is in Auchi. Auchi is in Edo North, another very important area for this election. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back talking to stakeholders in the Edo governorship elections. Stay with us, everyone. The countdown is on to the D-Day. I'm talking about the Edo governorship election. Let's turn to Edo North with over 500,000 registered voters. Sarah Yeko is precisely in Auchi. You've been talking to voters ahead of this election. It looks like it's raining where you are. Walk us through what you've been able to gather on election eve.
It's pretty interesting that, the countdown is on. Election is on Saturday. And, of course, just like we talked about yesterday, the weather condition here in Edo State, it's pretty dicey. So we're expecting that there will be light showers on election day. And so for today, we've seen INEC officials from the headquarters of Isako West local government, that's Auchi, where I am at. They've distributed sensitive and non-sensitive materials to the various registration areas, that's to the wards. Hopefully by election time tomorrow morning, these election materials will get to the 322 polling units that we're expecting to see across the local government. And so you know that this local government, of course, eyes are on this local government, and just like you wrote earlier, this local government is one of the swing regions, for this election. It can influence the possible outcome, for this election. And, there are political weights in this North Senatorial District that may be deciders for this election. Apart from the three contenders that we have, the three top contenders on the ballot, this particular senatorial district is a decider for these three contenders. And when we spoke with most of the residents, particularly at the market while they were making their last-minute purchase for tomorrow, for election day. They had talked about some persons were optimistic, but we met a lot of pessimistic residents who said they were not going to come out to vote, citing various reasons: fuel scarcity. Just in Benin City, fuel is being sold at about 1,220 naira. Right, and just imagine 5 hours away from Benin City, how much petrol will be. And just one of the few filling stations that we saw, the queue there was massive. And so you can imagine what the people here are going through. Someone said he bought a bag of rice for 110,000 naira. So they feel that the economic situation, the fuel scarcity, the high cost of living, like there's nothing to come out for. And even when I tried encouraging them to come out and vote for the next governor of the state, they feel that they've lost confidence, in the leadership, in those who they eventually elect. And so while some persons are pessimistic, we're hoping that tonight, with the door-to-door campaigns from the various political parties, they can actually sway the minds of the electorate.
Well, let's hope that those you spoke with are in the minority. I'm sure that all the stakeholders are counting on an improvement in voter turnout from the last election, which was well below 30%. But yesterday when we spoke, Sarah, you talked about bad roads and, you've also talked about the weather. Did you raise these concerns with INEC officials? What's their plan with logistics to be able to navigate these conditions?
If I mean, interestingly, the INEC official we got at this local government was not really receptive. So it was like, I can't speak with you. And we were like, we're from TVC. We just want to get information about distribution and all of that stuff. And it wasn't really receptive to us, so we just left him. And then something concerning that we saw at the INEC office here in the local government was there were some guys, sitting across the INEC office and just watching anyone who goes in. They are even questioning those who go into the INEC office. They are not security operatives whatsoever. And they were even asking us, telling us where to park, where not to park. They said they just wanted to be seeing the INEC office for themselves. So that's the heightened tension is there. The tension is there. Even though the police have said that they would try to douse that tension. Here in the local government, they've deployed over about 1,000 police officers. That's aside the sister agencies that will be coming to assist the police officers in this electoral process. So they've deployed 1,000 to the 5 divisions in this local government. And hopefully, when election day comes, that number would speak volumes and it will speak peace, credible and fair election.
Sarah, we have to go now. Just in a minute, can you confirm if those police personnel have been deployed?
They have been deployed. They have been deployed to the various areas that they will be at. Of course, they would have gone along with the election materials that would have been dispersed at the INEC office.
Sarah, you go live for us in Auchi. Auchi is in Edo North Senatorial District. Keep safe, Sarah. We're back with you when you have more updates for us. Let's talk about concerns around security ahead of this election. I'm joined by ACP Muyiwa Adejobi, who is the first public relations officer. Thank you for joining us on the program. You mentioned that the IGP has announced comprehensive security measures ahead of this election. Precisely how do these measures intend to prevent electoral violence and ensure public safety during and after the exercise?
Well, thank you, Nick. Good evening. Good evening, observers. We can always say that every election is a process. It's not a big thing. The process has been on for a very long time. The police has taken the bull by the horn to make sure we carry out threat analysis in those states, and this forms the basis for our deployment to various places to make sure we have a very good and perfect electoral process in those states. Our deployment is to take care of so many things. One, to escort and guide electoral materials, to protect the INEC officials, accredited observers, both international and domestic observers, to protect all critical facilities, polling units, including, and of course, collation centers. Our deployment, again, is to take care of so many areas, considering the location of those states, covering about three states, including the riverine areas and the waterways. We have done deployment to take care of certain areas based on our threat analysis, where we have noticed that we may likely have some political issues. We have good, appreciable number of deployment done in these areas. So, definitely, our intelligence has shown us so many things, which of course I'm not expected to be rolling out some of those things on here now. But with what we have with our deployment, we are okay and we are good to go. And of course, our deployment it can be reviewed. Whether we have so number of personnel in a particular place, we can still review to increase where necessary. So whatever we are doing now is not constant, it's not permanent, it's subject to review and proper appraisal for necessary steps to be taken.
ACP Adejobi, there are concerns about potential security threats from federal might and external forces. Talk to us about how committed the police force is against being engaged in this regard.
I don't understand what you mean by federal might. In this context, it's a relative term. But whatever meaning you want to give to it, Edo State is part of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So Edo State is to enjoy federal might. So I wouldn't know the federal might you mean. But whatever it is, the federal government is interested. I'm sure you are aware that the president made a release today, calling for calm, calling for civility. So the president, as the father of the nation, has made it clear that we want peace in Edo State. So I wouldn't understand the word or the phrase federal power, federal might. We have come, and like the IGP said, that the police as an agency, the responsible institution that has been empowered by the electoral heart to carry out certain obligations and responsibilities. This we will carry out with utmost sense of excellence, professionalism, and impartiality. So whatever federal government is bringing in is to support the system, to support the process, to make sure we have free, fair, and credible elections in Edo State. So all of us who belong to this country, whether you belong to one party or the other, you are part of this government and you are to enjoy the so-called federal power of federal might. Not to oppress anybody. You are going to see that you have made adequate deployment to cater for all of this. Don't forget, because you are managing this election doesn't mean we are going to abandon our primary and statutory assignment of protection of lives and property. Patrols are ongoing. Food patrols are ongoing. We still need to make sure that we protect our highways against the antics of these highway robbers and the like. So we have come to make sure we police Edo, we police this electoral process, and make sure there's peace in Edo State.
The IGP has implemented ban on all security aids and escorts accompanying VIPs to polling booths and collation centers. Does this apply to elected officials and appointees of government?
Yes, look at me. As a normal practice, what we do is we don't want any VIP, whether you are entitled to have police guards, escorts or not. We don't want any VIP to go out on election day and intimidate voters. We don't expect any elected officials to go out with a large number of security aids. We always talk to our governors, ministers, prominent Nigerians to always reduce the number of aids they want to go with. But for now, IGP has said it that no VIP is expected to go out with his security guards or aids. The security arrangement we have is to protect everybody. We are not, during this election, we are not going to protect individuals, but to protect the system. So which means everybody within that system is adequately protected. Even if the governor, the deputy governor want to go out, we always encourage governors where we have done these elections before, that the APC can go, the Holy can go with him, or the chief detail or the CSO. And maximum. There is no need for us to have like 10, 7, 10, 11 vehicles, 13, 14, 15 vehicles to be moving to polling units or collation centers. So the IGP's directive is clear enough. We are even trying to withdraw all the security aids attached to them. This night, the signal has gone out. And this is not only applicable to the police. We are reaching out to all our sister agencies that are involved in this deployment of aids and security guards to do the same, whether from the armed forces, the DSS, civil defense, all of them that are deploying aides, orderly and the likes to VIPs to take note of this, that all of them within Edo State, we are going to withdraw their men for the purpose of this election. We are policing the system, and I think every individual is adequately protected.
So we hear that about 35,000 police personnel have been deployed for this election. That's minus operatives from other security forces. But talk to us about the rule of engagement of these officers in securing voting centers, particularly high-risk areas, because usually you find a single policeman per polling unit, and they're usually not armed.
Yes, they won't be harmed because that's what the law says. But we have made arrangement to make sure we give buffer and we give cover to them, those operatives that will be at the polling unit. We have done it in such a way that at least you are going to see a policeman at the polling unit to be assisted by other security agencies. And we have made it easier that all security agents that will be involved, they have been deployed per local government, per polling unit. And they have gone to report to their area commanders or their DPOs. All of them are expected to hand over their deployments, the list, to the DPO or the area commander, who will do further deployments and conveyance to polling units accordingly. We have done this, and we hope that the security arrangement, don't forget we have restriction order from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The military, so police, mobile men, and others, and road safety will help us to enforce this. We want to enforce this because we believe if you have proper restriction of movement, we are almost 80% successful to the electoral process. So this is very, very important and very, very key. We have done another patrol involving mobile men, civil defense, and others that are armed. These armed patrol men will always give support to the officers or armed officers at the polling units. So our deployments and our strategies, and there are so many other things we have done that I would not reveal on here now. But with what we have on ground, every time we improve on our deployment, we improve our strategies to manage the election like this. All right. So we have certain innovations we have put in place. And don't forget, we have dress code. We have dress codes. We have the way we are going to turn out so that we'll be able to detect if you have any fake policeman or fake security operatives. We had a meeting today. We have made arrangements. We have plans, and we have our strategies in place to make sure we checkmate certain SSCs and put things in the right perspective.
So it sounds like we're expecting police presence in all of the 4,515 or 519 polling units tomorrow.
That is the arrangement.
Yes, but I just wanted to shed, I'd like you to shed more light as to how they're expected to engage in cases of malpractice, electoral violence, and vote buying.
Let me start with the issue of vote buying. Vote buying is like a silent crime. I've never seen anybody is going to face something on his head and please come and buy votes, or I want to sell PVC. So it's something that we need to have covert operation on that. And that's why you see that EFCC and other anti-graft agencies have been incorporated to the ISIS, that is ISIS, Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. They are part of our meeting. They are to go because they don't wear uniform. They are to go on that, carry out undercover operations to curb that. Why we do advocacy to enlighten members of the public, and that's why the civil society organizations have been involved to make sure they educate electorates not to sell their rights and not to sell their PVC or to canvass for votes. And we have told candidates and their opponents not to canvass for votes during the election. Vote buying is not something you do in a day. Before now, so many must have been influenced to vote for them. Many must have done so many things. So it's not what we go to tackle per se on election day, but it's a very dicey thing that nobody will come out to say, I want to buy votes or I want to sell votes. However, we have our first intelligence operatives that have been on ground. They are going to work with AFCC and SDPC to see how we can curb the issue of vote buying into BRS minimum. So and of course the ability of our operatives to go after certain offenses. Don't forget the electoral act is clear enough about it. We need to work with INEC to actually determine whether somebody has committed this offense or not. In as much as we know that we have the power to arrest, but when it comes to election security management, INEC plays that prominent role where we just give support. So our men have been trained, our INEC officials have been trained, they know how to handle any infractions or violations of the electoral house while the polls are on. So they have done that, and they are going to work hand in hand to see how they manage.
Well, we're going to work on reconnecting with ACP Muyiwa Adejobi. ACP, if you can hear me, we have to wrap this conversation so that we can also get to speak with the resident electoral commissioner in Edo State. But if you can in a minute, let us quickly address the issue of restriction of vehicular movement. In your press release, restriction on all forms of transportation is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on election day, ACP. Apart from those on essential duties, are there exemptions to these restrictions in cases of emergency? And can people still enter Edo just before 6 a.m.? Well, I think that we have to continue that conversation with ACP Adejobi subsequently. We're going to take a short break now, and I'll be joined by the resident electoral commissioner in Edo State as we probe further into our next preparation. It's Edo Decide 2024. We're counting down to the day tomorrow. ACP Muyiwa Adejobi, thank you so much for sharing with us. We're going to constantly connect with you for more updates as to the policing work ahead of this exercise. Thank you so much for your time. Let's turn our attention now very quickly to the resident electoral commissioner in Edo State, Mr. Anugum Onoha. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening. Let's begin with INEC's readiness ahead of this election. Is the commission on track with its schedule? Mr. Onoha, I'm asking if INEC is on track with its schedule for this election.
Okay, yes, we're on track. You will recall that on the 26th day of September 2023, INEC published timetable and schedule of activities for the Edo governorship election. In that schedule, we had 13 of them, and we have executed 12 seamlessly, the remaining one, and that one will be done tomorrow. On our part, we have done trainings to equip our staff, adult staff. We have done training for electoral officers. We have done training for an engagement for the people with disability, so that nobody will be left alone. We want to conduct all-inclusive election. We've had meetings with the security agencies, and they promise us that they will be professional in their duty. On our part, we have also received material from the central bank, sensitive material. Before we did that, we invited all the political parties to inspect with us. So we had a joint inspection of the with the political parties and the security agents. We opened it before them, and they were happy. They were happy with us that this time around, this election will be transparent. And all we did was to invite them again when we were distributing the material to the various local governments yesterday. And we have successfully distributed all the sensitive materials to the various local governments. Today, we started distributing it to the RAC Center. And the philosophy behind the RAC Center is that they are closer to the polling unit, so that by 8:30 tomorrow, we shall start. 8:30 tomorrow, we shall start. So the distribution of sensitive material to the various RAC centers are still ongoing.
All right. Mr. Onoha, how is INEC addressing concerns about bad roads and weather conditions that can potentially affect logistics and voting time? Some of our reporters are saying it took them about 5 hours to reach some places, especially within Edo North.
I don't want to talk about roads now. But we have made contingency plan where vehicle cannot access. We will use motorcycle to go to that place. We have also hired speedboats for the riverine areas with life jackets.
So you seem assured and confident that election materials will be deployed promptly to facilitate early voting tomorrow?
Yes, I have told you. I told you that is the philosophy behind the RAC Center and Super RAC Center. They are closer. If we succeed in distributing the materials from the local government to the various RAC Centers, then it's as good to go. So we rest assured
How are you?
Tomorrow, yes?
Please go ahead, Mr. Onoha.
So be rest assured that if you go there 8:30 tomorrow, you can vote. And the assurance we are giving you is that your vote we can't. Because our duty here is to implement the vision and the mandate of the commission. That is to conduct election that is free, fair, credible, and all-inclusive election. Their vote will surely count. I can assure you.
Absolutely, Mr. Onoha. I'm just curious about how the Commission is addressing the dynamics around transportation with a hike in fuel price and challenges of fuel scarcity. We understand that the cost had to be reviewed at some point. Have all the transporters been settled now?
Yes, we hired all the vehicles required for the logistics. They are on ground, and they are being accompanied by the security men to the various RAC centers.
How has INEC addressed the issue of voter apathy, given the historically low voter turnout in Edo State? It was below 30% in the last election, and 67% did not turn up in 2016.
Well, I'm not sure that will be a voter apathy because Edo people are politically active. They know their rights and they know what to do. On our part, we have been so transparent in the system, right from the continuous voters registration. INEC has been transparent, and the people of Edo State came out en masse to register for the exercise. So there is not pessimistic at all that they will not come. I'm positive that they will come because the Edo people are educated and enlightened.
Well, the PVC collection is at about 85%. We're hoping that that will impact an actual voter turnout. You are talking about INEC's collaboration.
It's a serious indicator that the people of Edo State will come out in mass to vote for the people of their choice, the candidate of their choice, and the party of their choice. Our advice is that they should come out and vote, and that their vote will surely count.
Let us get down to the business of electoral process and procedures tomorrow. Will the bimodal voter accreditation system be used in all polling units? Are there alternatives to BVAS in this election? And are officials adequately trained?
There's no incident form. We shall use the BVAS tomorrow. No incident form. No alternative to that.
We've had issues with power. You know, you get to the polling units, in previous elections, there are concerns about whether or not the device has been well charged. How are you addressing that tomorrow?
That what happened?
The power on the BVAS device.
The BVAS are fully charged. We wouldn't have any power problem. But in the event that there is, we have BVAS to serve as backup BVAS. We are fully prepared. You should be aware that this election is off-cycle election, and INEC is one. So we have sufficient beavers for this election.
So there are 18 local government areas in this election. There are riverine areas as well. What are INEC's plans for collation? What do you envisage? Do you think we're going to start collation on Saturday night? What is your projection in this regard?
Well, it depends when the election, on our own, the election is supposed to end at 3 o'clock. But if there are people still on the land, we will make sure those people finish their voting before we end. And after that, we can now upload the results.
What form of collaboration?
Local government.
Yes, please go ahead.
We have 6 riverine local governments, and we have made adequate provision. I told you when I started that we have made provision for speedboats to handle them, and the police and the naval officers, they have promised us that they will escort the material to their destination.
What form of collaboration does the Commission have with security operatives as it concerns issues with vote buying and electoral violence?
Well, the issue of vote buying should be handled by EFCC and IPC. So INEC cannot do their work. All we can do, if we have told our staff, if they see anybody doing that vote buying, they should put it in their incident report and give it to us. But I believe that their agents are there, and their agents should not allow that to happen.
Absolutely. We're counting on that. Mr. Onua, I was just hoping that you would take some time to respond to the issues raised by some political parties about allegations surrounding your affiliation with a political party. INEC already responded in affirmation in supporting your position as resident electoral commissioner. But how are you reacting to those concerns that were raised prior to this?
What is the allegation first?
Well, it talks about they alleged your affiliation with a particular political actor, that you are affiliated by blood and you had served at a time under his administration.
People should have respect for the rule of law. People should have respect for the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yes, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory is my cousin, I don't deny it. Does it mean that because he's a minister, I am not entitled to have any political appointment? Am I not a Nigerian? So because he's the minister, I'm not qualified. What we should think, we should grow out of that area. What we should be thinking is the person qualified? Does he have the capacity to do the job? Is it experience? Does he have the courage? Does he have the character to do the job? And not because he's the minister's cousin. I think we should grow above that, and that is what is keeping this country back. They should look at the person's pedigree. I'm coming from the university community. I'm an associate professor of law. So it's not as if I'm not a politician. I'm coming from the university. So what are they saying? Just the only offense I have committed in Odo is that the minister is my cousin. I have challenged the parties. They should point out what I have done wrong, what I'm supposed to do, and I have not done it. They should let me know, and I will address on the issue. But on the issue of my affiliation with the minister, is that the offense? Because it's a minister, I'm not a Nigerian. Because a minister, even when I'm qualified, I should not be given an appointment. Is there anybody that has been appointed in this country that wrote the exam for it? Is there anybody? People should disassociate themselves from such reasoning. It is mundane. It is mundane, and that is why we are saying where we are. Nobody talks about competence. Nobody talks about the character of the person. Can he do this job? Does he have the capacity to do that? Let me also remind them on the issue who should do the work. What they are saying is not correct. I was screened by the Senate, and the Senate found me worthy. None of them raised this issue. I have said in Edo since last year till now, nobody. I have had several meetings with the political parties. Nobody has ever raised this issue. How come 3 or 4 days to the election? Of course, you can know. When he refused to do their bidding, what do you think they would do?
All right, but Mr. Onoha,
not even let me tell you, nobody can tell me to do what is wrong, because my name is at stake. My name is at stake, so nobody can do that. Nobody can do that. Instead of you to tell me what to do that is wrong, I would rather resign this appointment. I am a lecturer, so this is not the beginning and the end of my life. So because somebody is my cousin, the minister is my cousin, have I ever denied it? Is it a crime that you have relatives? So you would have preferred that the minister wouldn't have had any brother or sister because he's the minister. I'm so surprised that people at this age, 21st century, people are thinking as if they are in the 9th century.
I hear you clearly, Mr. Onoha. I think that it's important that the voting public...
competence.
Yes.
Talking about competence.
Exactly the point I'm making, that it's important that the voting public, have the assurances that INEC is committed to being an unbiased umpire in this election.
Yes, my assurance is that INEC will conduct a free, fair, credible, and all-inclusive election. Election they can call their own. Election that is free from pity. That is the assurance I've given the people of Edo and the people of Nigeria.
We are very much counting on that. All eyes on Edo State. They say it's the first off-cycle governorship election.
This cannot be done by one person. We have domestic and international observers. We have the agents of the parties at the various units. We have 4,500
Mr. Onoha,
units in there.
No, I hear you clearly,
they are just doing
but I'm afraid we have completely...
It begins and it's a process. And I want you...
We have completely run out of time.
Yes.
And we're counting on the commitments that you have shared in this regard. They say it's the first off-cycle governorship election under this administration. We're also considering the litmus test to see how this administration will fare in that regard. Anogo Monoha is the resident electoral commissioner in Edo State. Thank you so much for talking to us. All eyes on Edo, everyone. We have our correspondents strategically located in Edo State covering this election and bringing us beat by beat